Please welcome your host, Nick Aldinger.
All right, well, welcome to the fourth installment of Business Builder Insights. I'm your host, Nick Aldinger. We have a great show for you today, and today's segment is all about creating passionate employees. If this is the first time joining us, Business Builder Insights is a thought-provoking six-part speaker series focused on helping you, the business owner and decision makers, develop a strategy to help scale your company. Over the course of the six-part series, we'll be interviewing dynamic panelists consisting of successful executives, entrepreneurs, and local subject matter experts who will speak on topics directly affecting small and medium-sized businesses. Business Builder Insights is absolutely free, and our goal is to simply equip you with the tools and resources necessary to positively affect your bottom line. And today's segment is all about improving your culture by learning from local experts who know what it takes when it comes to creating passionate employees. But before we introduce our featured panelists, I'd like to remind you to stick around for the traction segment immediately following the panel's discussion. Today, Brent's going to be breaking down the people component as it relates to the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. He's going to be talking about the people analyzer, accountability chart, and how to put the people in the right seats. So you definitely won't want to miss the traction segment coming up later in the program. I also want to thank our sponsors. Business Builder Insights wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors. I'd like to thank our premier sponsors, Strategic Tax Solutions, BVIS, and Profit Creek. I'd also like to thank our media sponsor, Iliad Media Group, and today's session sponsor, IBL Events. And if you like the content and speakers here on Business Builder Insights, I invite you to join our signature event, Business Builder Day, on May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center. Here we'll have more keynotes, seminars, networking, and we'll be showcasing some of the best companies that Treasure Valley has to offer. Now this year, the seminars will be limited in seating, so I recommend going ahead and registering as soon as possible, and you could do so at businessbuilderday.com. Now we're going to take just a quick break while we set the stage for our panelists today, and so we'll see you in just a few seconds. Thank you.
If you're looking to grow your bottom line, join us to gain resources on growth strategies, social media, fraud protection, workplace culture, hiring, and more. Register to attend Business Builder Day, a free event for business professionals, May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center.
All right, well, we're back, and today's segment, once again, is creating passionate employees. And we're joined on stage with the subject matter experts when it comes to this segment, and I'm so excited to introduce them now. So to my left, I have Kema Hurley, who's a licensed clinical professional counselor, also owner of Kema Consulting. We have Chris Taylor, president and CEO of Fishers Technology, and Ben Davidson, senior vice president of HR and training with the Idaho Central Credit Union. Thank you all for joining us today. Before we get into the questions, I want to give you an opportunity to just tell a little bit more about you and your company. So let's start with you, Kema. Take it away.
Yeah, so I have been a licensed counselor for the last 11 years, I think. I'm also a mental wellness and mindset coach. I just finished 5 years with the University of Idaho as adjunct faculty in their leadership and counseling program, and I'm a former COO of a mental health agency. So I've been doing this for a while.
Great. Chris?
I'm Chris Taylor. I'm CEO of Fishers Technology. I think I need to be Kema's client. Sounds like I need some help. Our business is office technology, copiers and printers, services, IT services, and so forth. We're in 3 states, Idaho, Montana, Eastern Washington. We've got about 150 employees. And so this topic is near and dear to my heart of passionate employees. It's what makes any great organization. So really happy to be here today. Thank you.
Great.
I'm Ben Davidson with Idaho Central Credit Union, Senior VP of HR and Training, which is just a fancy way to say I hire a lot of people and try not to blow all of our money on health insurance. Our company is growing really, really fast, and so one of my biggest responsibilities is to scale up quickly while maintaining our award-winning culture. Just released a book that you're welcome to download. It's called Get Hired Guarantee. It's #1 in the jobs resumes category in the free section of Kindle, so you're welcome to download that on Amazon. I just slashed the price to zero because it's more fun to watch them fly off the shelf than to try to promote the book.
All right. Well, and just if you're watching today, we are also going to be sending out a packet after the show where we'll put links to your book, Ben, and also some of the information we'll be talking about today. So again, if you registered, you will receive that packet. Let's jump into the questions. First of all, Kema, you're an expert, as you mentioned, in mental health and wellness. Based on the research and data you've seen, can you tell us a little bit more on what really creates passionate employees?
Yeah, so we've seen kind of a real shift in the last couple of decades towards employees really looking for loyalty and this long-term just sustainability with companies, towards looking towards their own values. They're looking for employees that align with their values really well. So some of that, if you just think about being an employee yourself or just a human yourself, is you want to know what your own values are, right? So if you think about my values are time with my family or travel or just trust and integrity, we're starting to see a shift of employees really looking towards wanting companies that have a lot of transparency and that they can build trust through those companies. So we want to see employers now really working to build those relationships, to build that trust, to build that transparency, and really show up in an authentic way so that they can really look to their employees and say, what is it that you most want?
Okay, great. And, you know, Ben and Chris, your companies, you know, have been constantly ranked as one of the top places to work year in and year out. Can you tell the audience and maybe give a few examples on practices that create such a positive and productive work environment? Let's start with you, Chris.
Yeah, it all starts with hiring. I think hiring, and Kema just mentioned culture and values. Hiring for our culture and values. If we get the right hire, they can't help but be passionate, assuming we do the right things in enhancing that culture over time. So it starts with hiring, and then figuring out what your values are. It may or may not be what's on your website or what's on your wall that you say your values are. Your values are what your company truly feels day in and day out. And if you're consistent with that as a leader, and you're hiring to those values, they can't help but be passionate. You've got a cause that you're running in the same direction within those same values is critical for us. An important part of our culture is, we're big Patrick Lencioni fans, is healthy conflict. So starting with the foundation of trust and then embracing the diversity of opinion that we have across our employees. That diversity of opinion, if we can surface that and have healthy conflict, we're going to make much better decisions, have much more innovation in our company. So for us, embracing conflict as a value, it's interesting, conflict in order to have passionate, aligned employees, and it's critical to our culture. And finally for us, is Kema mentioned transparency. Over the years, I've heard from other leaders, just be transparent with your company. Show all your numbers, show all of your vulnerabilities. And I always thought, well, if we're not doing very well financially, I don't want them to be scared. And if we're doing great financially, I don't want them to think, well, where's my money? And so I kind of held that information closely. And we did some acquisitions, and we're not in a good financial place several years ago, and I just shared it with the company. I just shared it. And it was fascinating how they rallied around it. They took ownership of the good news and the bad news. And that passion came from transparency. And so now I'm a firm believer in sharing absolutely everything and being highly transparent with our team. If I have time, I mentioned Patrick Lencioni. He wrote a book called The Truth About Employee Engagement. So I'll give you what I took out of that book as the answer to this question. So he says highly engaged employees and passionate employees need three things. They need personal connections, relationships with their colleagues. If you can imagine, you go to work and you just sit in your cube and you have no connection to people, don't know anything about your personal life, what your passion would be in the workplace. So personal connections to your colleagues. Second is that individual's role in achieving your vision. How important, why is that job? It doesn't matter what the job is, it's important to the overall mission. So why is my job important? So personal relationships, understanding why the job is important. And then he argues, and I agree, is daily understanding of what good looks like, having a scorecard of what great looks like individually. The combination of those three things create highly engaged and passionate employees, according to Patrick Lencioni. And so we're trying to figure out how do we how do we take those lessons and embody them in our company?
That's great. I'm starting to see a theme here as we're all talking. So, Ben, interested to see your point of view, and again, a very successful company when it comes to passionate and productive employees. What are some of the best practices that you've enabled within your organization?
Yeah, one of the best practices that really, I think, helps ICCU excel is our one-on-ones between manager and employee. So I mentioned we're very high growth, but as big as the company gets, I always tell our managers, no matter how large we grow, the company is only as large as the relationship between supervisor and employee. And so as long as that connection is strong, then our culture can grow infinitely. And one of the things we do really well with our one-on-ones is that the employee is empowered to create the agenda for the meeting with their manager. And this is important for a few reasons. One, the manager doesn't have to stress about being inspirational and filling the time with their employee, and the employee knows that they have this time that really is sacred and is going to be there for them, that they can have face time with their boss, and that they can talk about what they want to talk about, they can get recognition, and they can also ask for help. And so I think that's one of the really critical factors. We require all of our supervisors to meet at least monthly with each of their direct reports. It's often more. I meet with my boss for an hour every week, and I bring the agenda to the meeting, and it's a very, very effective meeting. Another thing is employee engagement surveys. So if they're done correctly, they can bring a lot of good information. Chris and I were just talking about how the Best Places to Work in Idaho survey is underway right now, so that's a great free option for small businesses. And we were really proud that during our annual engagement survey, which takes place every August, so August of 2020, our score was just as good as August of 2019, and we know that 2020 was a challenging year. Right in the middle of the pandemic is when we measured. So we were very happy to see that the relationships and the culture were just as strong through the pandemic because of the steps we were taking.
And I think the research really supports what you're saying in terms of employees want to feel like valued, that their opinion matters, that they're a part of the bigger picture of the company. And so those one-on-ones that you're doing and really identifying and bringing people in, and Chris, you said the same thing, right? We're bringing employees in and giving them some onus in the company and making them feel really valued as an integral part of the company, not just a cog in the wheel.
And so when you talk about, creating passionate employees, obviously it's only as good as your culture. How important is the hiring process when it comes to creating passionate employees? And do you want to take just a few minutes to talk about the hiring process and how that relates to creating passionate employees? And I'll start with you, Ben, and then go with you, Chris.
Yeah, so the hiring process really ensures that we all fit together and we're pulling together towards a common goal. One of the things ICCU does really well is hiring, and we use talent assessments. We have 5 different proprietary instruments to do that. And the real goal is to hire more top performers. So since we can't clone the top performers we have with medical technology, we just try to understand how they naturally think, feel, and behave, and then try to find people just like them. Because no HR person, in my 20 years of experience in HR, there's no way I could know exactly what questions should be asked to hire for each role. So the best way to do it is to take top performers that have the numbers, the tenure in the job, that love the job, find out how they naturally think, feel, and behave, and find others just like them.
Great. Anything to add there, Chris?
I couldn't agree more. And hiring is everything. And once they're on board, obviously, reinforcing the culture throughout our relationship together. But hiring is everything, getting the right people, and you're going to hear later today from Brent, right person, right seat. Our hiring process is all about getting to know the real person, not the person who shows up for an interview that has high emotional energy, wants to put their best foot forward, and wants the job, right? That's a great person, but that's not the real person we're going to be working with 6 months from now. So our process is, how do we break down that emotional energy on their part and our part and get to know the true candidate? And is this going to be a cultural fit or not? And that's a lengthy process, and we take it very, very, very seriously. And it's one of our keys to success as a business is investing in hiring. Yeah.
Now, Kama, let me switch a little bit and talk. You talked at the beginning about mental health, and there's a lot of business owners watching today, and they might be saying to themselves, hey, I'm a small business owner, and we can't afford maybe to offer benefits, or we might not be able to offer health coaches or counselors. What are some of the things these small, medium-sized businesses can do to embrace mental health and wellness, and why is it so important for them to do so?
Yeah, I think if you've got the budget to provide EAP benefits or health coaching or a membership program for your employees, that's a great way to offer that support so it doesn't fall on you. However, most small businesses can't do that, which is understandable. And so what we're finding is that the most important ways are really to connect. So to ask the questions, how are you doing? We mentioned 2020 was a really tough year for a lot of people, and shifting that focus to working from home and all the complexities that came with that led to a major increase in depression, anxiety, and substance use. But what we saw is a lot of employers weren't checking in with their employees and just asking the questions, as well as they weren't sharing their own experience, right? So the companies that did share their experience and said, hey, here's how I'm handling my mental health, here's how I'm handling wellness right now, those companies actually saw an improvement in employee scores in terms of how connected they are to the company. So what we see is just simply asking the question of how are you doing and just checking in from a really genuine, authentic place of caring, right? If you don't really care, don't ask the question. But if you can do it in an authentic way, that creates a really strong bond and connection with you and your employees, right? So asking the questions is probably the biggest one, and just genuinely connecting and reaching out. Outside of that, if we go back to values and trust a little bit, if you're connecting with your employees and asking them about the things that are important to them, that's another great way to connect with them. You can provide resources, so the CDC, the American Counseling Association, the Mental Health Counseling Association, all of those things have tons of great resources out there as far as what can you provide to your employees to ask and just check in and say like, hey, I know this is a really tough time for you, or I know that you might be struggling. Here's some resources that we can offer, free resources that are available that you're just showing that you actually care and connect. I think we saw 86% of people surveyed really said that mental health support, just check-ins and those kind of things were really important in the workplace to them. So most employees out there really find it important and find it valuable that you're connecting and checking in with them. And so doing something rather than being scared and doing nothing.
And again, I want to remind those who are watching today that Kama has provided and referenced a lot of these links, and we'll be sending these out in the packet tomorrow with the replay of this session. So if you've registered, you're going to get that information that Kama's talking about with those links. So we definitely want to share that with our audience. Now, staying on this mental health and wellness in the workplace, Ben, I know you mentioned ICCU is actually offering a free online health coach to the employees. Can you talk a little bit more about that program and why it's important for your teams?
Yeah, we know that we need to treat the whole person is what it's called. It's not reasonable to expect that they're going to leave their home life at home when they walk through our door, and that work's not going to go home with them. And so we want to provide solutions to help them with whatever is on their mind that they need help with. And so we're partnering with a company called Vita Health, and one of the things that is unique about them is they offer a virtual coach to every employee to meet with as often as weekly. And so they build a relationship with this individual coach, and they can set goals together. They can track those. It integrates with fitness trackers or with blood glucose monitors, things like that. And so we're hoping that that relationship, it's a virtual relationship, of course, through the phone. We've learned in the pandemic that you can maintain great relationships virtually. You don't have to be sitting in the same room. And so we're hoping that this is going to really scale because of the relationship piece. In all my years of HR, I've tried a lot of self-service health portals, and I've never been able to get better than 10% consistent usage. If it's just self-help, go read topics that interest you. But we're hoping with that relationship piece built into it that we're going to make some good headway, and so far it looks like it could work well.
That's great. And I think we're showing on the screen for our audience, or we just did, that Vita and how they broke it down within your organization. So it'll be interesting to follow up with you later and see how that program's going. Now, Chris, talking about COVID, this hit a lot of different people and businesses in different ways in the last year. But you being a technology company who specializes also in printing, I could see that it probably shook up maybe your workforce. How did you deal with employee engagement as it related to COVID within your company?
Yeah, it's interesting. We just came through a crisis, and hopefully we're almost through it. But we could have crises in our business at any time. You could have a shock to the system at any point. So we need to be prepared for these. And so it was good for us. We realized we didn't know what the future held. Back a year ago, we didn't know what the future, where this was going. And we saw in our faces of our employees fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD. And people, when you have uncertainty and doubt and gaps in information, as humans, we're going to fill in those gaps with probably the worst case scenario of what the truth could be. So we realized we need to communicate throughout this thing, and very transparently saying we don't know our own vulnerabilities, but just that communication helped fill in those gaps with information. We put a plan together, we acted quickly, and we did some furloughs and some pay cuts, and we didn't know what the future held. And it's interesting, our morale actually went up. Our morale went up. They said, thank you for cutting my pay. But what they really appreciated was that we had a plan, we executed the plan, and then when we were wrong, we adjusted and we're transparent about it. So having a plan and communicating through the whole thing was really important to us. And then fundamentally, the fact that you're in a crisis we don't think mean we need to shift who we are. So we actually rallied around our core more than ever. So those frequent communications were all around reinforcing our core values as a company and saying, this is why we're going to get through this, because you guys live this day in and day out. In fact, we looked at our core values, and our first two, the first one was extremely happy customers. The second one was happy employees having fun. We're like, our priority, we flipped those two. We put the employees first, just as a message to the team that this is what is more. If we have extremely happy employees, they're going to create extremely happy customers. They can't help. That's what we do, right? And so that little switch in our core values was a message to the whole team. You are number one, and we're going to get this wrong, and we're going to adjust. And man, we emerged with higher morale through this than when we started. And then through that, we had to realize there are people going through tough times, and we were talking about young kids and the challenge that everybody had, and mental health, all those things. And so we had to reach out and do some of the things that I wish I knew came a year ago, but some of those things of just saying, hey, we're here for you, tell us how you're doing, what can we do? Here's our EAPA program for counseling, and can we be as flexible, let's be as flexible as we can to understand what you're going through. So if I were to put it in one word, it was communication and rallying around our core values.
Well, and again, it's kind of going back to what you're talking about at the beginning is, when we think creating passionate employees, we all know this by now, it's not pay anymore, it's not the carrot. It goes back to almost Maslow's hierarchy. When you look at, are you providing that security? Well, how do you do that? You do it through transparency and accountability, and that's what really matters at the end of the day. No one wants to lose their job. No one wants to take a pay cut, but in the grand scheme of things, when we have a crisis, they want that communication, like you were mentioning, and it provides that sense of security and understanding that you're treating them as a human too, not just a number. And I think that's been said by Ben and Chris and Kami, you're backing up with the data, and I think that's more true than ever. It's important that we have these elements. And that's really what it takes to create these passionate employees. It's not these carrots per se. So now it's all, we could all have the perfect interviews. We could have the great resumes and it's checking all the boxes, but still, even with these processes in place, we still may encounter a dissatisfied or disgruntled employee. I'd really like to know how you handle that within your teams. And then Kema will end with you on that same question, and is, what is the best way to handle, disgruntled or dissatisfied employees? So Ben, let's start with you on this one. How do you handle these dissatisfied or disgruntled employees?
Yeah, this is a critical piece of the training that I give to all of our new managers. And it starts with a book that's a favorite book of our CEO, Kent Oram, and it's called Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. And it's a great book because it's built around the concept that we have to view people, the other person that we're having conflict with or trying to help, as a real person with needs and values as important as our own, and that they can see how we feel about them internally. So an example of this that I love from one of their facilitators is, let's say that Chris and I were going to go into a meeting together to talk about a project, and I come up to Chris and I say, Chris, I view you as an obstacle and a distraction. Let's go and work on this project together. And put on a fake smile. And he said, I would contend that we do exactly that every day. And the reason is that our body language conveys 85% of the communication that a human makes. And so someone can tell how we feel about them deep down. They really can. When I say that to Chris, he would be able to tell that I wasn't making enough eye contact, that I didn't hold the eye contact long enough, that my smile wasn't exactly genuine. And he could know that A, he's not important to me, and B, I'm not as warm towards him as he would like me to be. And all of that takes place non-verbally. And so if we're trying to work with someone and find a win-win solution, we have to go into it with what's called a heart of peace. We have to actually view them as a person and really feel that their needs are as important as our own. And the book goes into talking about how to do that effectively. And it's considered to be a state called out of the box. So I give all my managers an empty green box, of course, because green is ICCU's color, and challenge them to stay out of the box when they're having difficult conversations with their employees.
Great. I love that. And again, we'll be referencing that book in the packet. And so thanks for sharing that with us. Chris, how about you? How do you handle maybe dissatisfied or disgruntled employees?
Yeah, for us, it's back to culture, and having, for us, it's a listening culture, is always being curious about the ideas of our employees and how they're doing. They have all the, I don't have any ideas. So we constantly, whether they're one-on-ones or tiger teams and group sessions, finding out what are the ideas and being curious about those ideas. And then finding out if someone does have some issues or disgruntled, truly caring about that employee. So part of our culture is problems or opportunities. We really, really want to rally around. We want to be thankful that we messed up or that someone's disgruntled, because those are opportunities. When we rally around those are opportunities for us to get better. They're gifts, right? And so when we have that culture and someone is disgruntled, we've got a culture that say, hey, let's talk about it, because I'm going to get a gift from you of how we can get better. You're going to get a gift on how you can get better. So culturally, it's very important to have these open dialogues and realize problems are opportunities. And we work a lot on healthy conflict, and we have basically curious conversation. How do you have these conversations when emotions are going to get high and so forth? So giving them tools to have healthy conflict and just surface all this. And then if we do have an issue and it's not a good fit anymore with an employee, understanding why is it not a good fit? Is it skills, values, or attitude? If it's skills, that's on us. Let's go get the skills up for the job or find a different seat where those skills apply. If it's attitude, well, maybe if it's a chronic bad attitude, we can't fix that. But chances are that there's something going on in their life. There's something that's creating a bad attitude. Let's rally around that. Maybe it's COVID, right? Stress is at home. Let's rally around that and get them through this attitude period. If it's values, we can't fix it. It's not going to be a fit anymore. And then if we do part ways with somebody, boy, that feedback, that's a really important feedback to get as they're exiting. Because if anybody's going to be honest about how much you suck, it's going to be on their way out, right? So, and that's really valuable feedback. And so we're really trying to listen on as we part ways. It's really important to us.
And Kema, anything to
I
add?
sound a little bit like a broken record. I can see why these are kind of some of the best places to work in Idaho. So trust and curiosity is probably my biggest takeaway from that, right? Like, trust that you hire good people. You put a lot of effort into hiring people, and so if they're struggling and they're really having a hard time, we want to figure out why, what's going on, that they're not necessarily inherently broken, but something has shifted and changed. And so being really curious about what that is. Anytime you have a difficult conversation with somebody, we want to show up with that curiosity rather than defensiveness. And so if you can really listen to what they're saying, let them vent it all out, let them get it out there, then you can start working through and breaking through to figuring out how can we now become solution focused instead of problem focused.
That's great. And you know, I can't believe we've already come up to the close of this segment. Half an hour goes by so fast, but you know, for the audience members who are watching, the business owners and decision makers, if you could give one piece of advice to them within 1 minute, what would that advice be when it comes to creating passionate employees? If they were to make a change or to enable something right now, what would that one piece of advice be? Let's just start right off with you, Kema, and then we'll go around.
Yes, so trust, transparency, and authenticity. So authenticity and trust go hand in hand together, but you know, Chris shared that story, like it was so easy to act out of fear, and for a lot of business owners it's really easy to act out of fear, but creating that shift instead and coming from a place out of transparency and saying like, okay, we're kind of scared, but instead of holding everything really close and tight to us, we actually want to bring you in because we trust you as our employees and we trust you as an integral part of the company, goes miles towards having a culture that really benefits and brings that in.
Great. Chris?
I'll be a broken record with myself, but for us, it's values and culture. And as an owner, a leader in an organization, understanding what is your culture, what are your values, and do not violate those ever. Because the minute you put something on the wall and you say, this is us, and then you go act differently, you're not going to have passionate employees. You're tearing down trust and credibility. So live in your core values day in and day out.
I'd say partner with your employees on a mission that's bigger than themselves. Helping members achieve financial success is all that ICCU focuses on. I love to hear the stories that we publish, and the biggest awards we give at our annual celebrations are for those frontline employees that go above and beyond for our credit union members. And we try to have all the symbols that reinforce that. I'm wearing my green shoes that we give to our employees to go march in parades with us, to be active in our community, and they feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves, and it's a mission you can get behind.
Yeah. Well, and I know it seems like this is a no-brainer in terms of what to do when creating passionate employees, but yeah, if that was the case, you know, we wouldn't have people changing jobs so often, or people, the turnover that's happening. I mean, you look at Idaho right now, our unemployment is fairly low considering the rest of the nation, but yet we still have high turnover in terms of people looking for a different fit. So I think it's important for us to recognize what you've said today. Again, not only are you an expert when it comes to mental health in the workplace, or successful executives leading companies who are the top places to work year in, year out. We appreciate your time today. It's really valuable information, and I hopefully our audience will take bits and pieces away and could implement this to create those passionate employees and that culture that everyone wants to work for. We are displaying your contact information. If you want to learn more about our featured companies and learn about Kema and Chris and Ben and their companies, please feel free to either reach out to them via email, their phone numbers, or if you want to learn about more about their companies and what they're doing, please visit their websites. We've posted them here. But I want to thank you again so much for being here today and sharing your stories and your experiences within your companies. Thanks again for being here. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Wow, BVIS, where have you been these last 15 years in my life? Hi, my name is Mia Paulus, and I am the CEO of an outsourcing company called Dissenter. We have been looking for a strategic partner to help us with compliance for our clients, specifically payroll, HR, workers' comp, and safety. After meeting with Jason a couple of times, it was great to know a company cared as much about entrepreneurs and executives as we do. I learned how much BVIS cares about the success of businesses they work with, and we are experiencing fast growth here at the center, and I'm excited to see what BVIS and the center can do together to simplify business for our clients so they can have the success and the quality of life that they deserve.
So, you're a business owner, or the marketing director, or the PR guy, maybe even lead of sales. Problem is, you're likely all of these things and need Iliad Media Group to help you be heard and found. Get back to business as usual. You probably think you can handle all of the demanding marketing requirements to succeed in today's business world, telling yourself, it's fine if I miss some things. I can do it myself. I don't need help. My cousin's a graphic designer. Realistically, there's just way too much to do for one person. You need a team that can help get you found online, place your marketing in front of the right demographic, have your message heard by real people, be transparent about insights and reporting, craft a clear story for your brand, help grow your bottom line, and advise you as marketing specialists who have your best interest in mind. Whew, I think you know where I'm going with this. Introducing Iliad Media Group. We do the unusual so you can get back to business as usual.
All right. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us again on Creating Passionate Employees. We have a special guest joining us today. He's going to be joining us virtually. We have Jason Williams coming in live from his office at the Village in Meridian. So we're going to see if this technology can work here. Let's see if we could pipe in Jason.
Hey Nick, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we could hear you, Jason. Thanks for joining us today. We've heard a lot of great things about BVIS and how your team is helping business owners thrive. I want to pass it back to you so you could tell us more.
That's awesome. Well, gosh, thank you so much for coming out and visiting us virtually here at the new BVIS Boise. If you haven't heard of BVIS, you've probably seen some of our commercials, some different things. You know, we're a PEO. And a lot of people, the first thing I say when I say PEO is they go, I have no idea. You might have to Google that. But when you look at what a PEO is, we're a professional employer organization. And the real difference in BVIS is our people. You know, we're local, we've been here 14 years, but we're part of a $7 billion publicly traded company called BVIS. And if you haven't heard of that, you will in the future. But this is our new location. I wanted Nick to come out and visit with us. We moved in here right before COVID, like in the May-ish time frame. So brand new building. This is our 7-year build out. BVIS made a tremendous investment into the Treasure Valley for our community of owners and our community of partners. And that's really what this space is designed for. First of all, you know, when you come into this area, this is the kitchen, this is the coffee bar. Some of the best coffee you can have in Boise is served right here. So we have some incredible morning breakfast meetings. And we also have this area, it's kind of an open area. We call this the collaboration area. All of our writing boards, you can see they're kind of shiny walls. These are write-on boards, so we do a lot of brainstorming, a lot of sessions with our owners and partners here. So we love to have this space. It's probably my favorite space in the whole space. Open ceilings, just really, really fun. If you come through here, this is the manager's office. This is my office. You know, I picked the smallest office in the area, but it has a pretty iconic view. If you come over here, I love meeting with people, love talking about Boise in this area. And located in the heart of Meridian, overlooks the fountain. It's kind of cloudy today, but you can see Bogus Basin out there. And then, so, you know, having grown up in Boise and being part of the community, I mean, this is pretty iconic to work here. So we love it. So look forward to seeing you in here. But I don't want to run over the camera guy, mess him up. But anyway, if you come into here again, this is kind of just a general seating area. Oh, look, it's the Traction book by Brent Oetken. You know, Profit Creek is going to be talking about this. We're a big fan of Traction and everything that they do, kind of taking it to the next level. Again, Brent supports business owners just like us, just in a little bit deeper way, but we'll get into that a little bit more. But Nick, I know you had another question. I get babbling, get talking, but what's your question?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So as a business owner myself, I've always thought of PEO as just handling payroll, but after spending time with you and your team, you obviously offer a lot more. Can you tell us more about that experience business owners have when they become part of the BVIS community?
Okay, great question. I'm so glad you asked that, because that really is the separator between us. And I didn't understand that when I came to work for BVIS. I was recruited actually into BVIS, and I didn't understand the difference either. I thought it was a very commoditized product, but when I got to see the work we get to do with owners, let me bring you in here and I'll show you. This is our conference room. This conference room, again, was designed to be highly interactive. open space plan, but a lot of the work we do with our owners is done in here. So once an owner comes on with a BVSI and becomes part of the PEO, it's really just the start. I mean, we do the payroll, we do the HR, we do the risk mitigation services, but where we really stand out is, you know, we've got a great work comp product, but the work that we do with our clients, which is around these 6 pillars, is done in this room. We actually bring owners in here, we call them deep dive sessions. We spend about 3 to 4 hours with those owners and we map out the business. And again, it's nothing that we really bring where we tell the owners what to do. We just give them tools and equip them on maybe how to enhance their business, how to grow their business, how to go to the next level. You know, BVSI being a $7 billion publicly traded company that I talked to you guys about, a key function of that is our retention. Over 95% retention rate with our current clients, and the average client stays with BVSI for over 10 years. So that's a testament to the actual work that we're doing. And again, a separator between us and just being like, you know, like you said, a payroll company, much, much different. And is the big reason I came to work here. So this space has been built out like we talked about for a 7-year plan. The open areas are designed for future employees. We're currently hiring 2 new employees right now because of our incredible growth here in the Treasure Valley. So, but a couple of these people are way cooler than me, the ones that work here. First one is Amanda. She's our HR consultant, again, working with the owners that we currently support. And then Deidre, who's been here over 14 years, incredible part of the organization. And they work in what's called a business unit. So we have these business units. We work with an HR consultant, a payroll consultant, a risk mitigation specialist, and then also a business partner. And then we're hiring right now for a business development person that works with our referral partners. That's a lot of what comes into BVSI. It's not necessarily like direct sale. It's because someone told them, hey, you need to go meet Jason, you need to meet BVSI. So that's kind of how it works. The other last space I'll take you through, Nick, I really love this space, is our lounge room. So come on into the lounge. We got the leather couches. And by the way, I didn't talk about our snacks. Our snacks are some of the best in the Treasure Valley as well. So you got to experience that if you come and hang out with us too. So that's really the space. It's an incredible space compared to where we were to where we're going to be growing into in the next 5 to 7 years. We love it here in the Meridian Village. And I'll just take you back to where we started. This is it for us. This area here too in the front, we didn't really talk about this, but behind the camera guys are kind of seating area. So when you come into BVSI, you can come right in. You've got another area of workroom here in the front, so we love it. But the biggest thing I can kind of summarize for you is that, yeah, the differences are the people in BVSI. And you know, when you come into a BVSI, the whole point of it is to help business owners. We advocate for business owners. So to kind of summarize everything, if you come into us, of course you're going to get your payroll needs taken care of, your HR needs taken care of, but you're going to really get a partnership and a team that helps your business as you go into the next level. So whether you need that now, or maybe you need to relever, or maybe you have some questions about that, we encourage you to reach out to BVSI anytime. Come get to know us. Come have that coffee that I'm bragging about. Come grab some snacks. But come down and see us here in Meridian Village, or give us a call, or give us a Zoom. We look forward to seeing you. And thank you, Nick, so much for allowing us to kind of share about BVSI and to take things to the next level as far as like letting you experience who and what we are here in the Treasure Valley.
Well, thank you, Jason, and we appreciate you and all you do, not only for our community, but what you offer for business owners like myself. And I could attest, by the way, Jason, that coffee and those snacks, they're great. So, but all kidding aside, we're posting Jason's contact information up right now. If you are a business owner, I encourage you to reach out and schedule a meeting with Jason, get to know him and his team and all that they offer for business owners. You could contact them on email, by phone, or visit bbsi.com to learn more information. So thanks again, Jason. We appreciate you and all you do. We're going to just take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with Brent Oetken and the traction segment, where he's going to break down the people component as it relates to the entrepreneurial operating system. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
You know BBSI for the expertise and support our local business partners provide. Now discover an enhanced level of access and control with MyPBSI, a proprietary online portal that puts the power of information into the hands of you and your team.
Streamline your human resources activities with 100% paperless onboarding. Simplify payroll with direct integration of data from TimeNet. Then calculate and process payroll in minutes. Put your data to work for you with powerful reporting tools and discover new insights into your business operations. Discover what MyPBSI can do for your organization. Call or write today to speak with a specialist.
Hey, well, thanks for that shout out there, Jason. I really appreciate it. What a great segment of the panelists, the information that they shared on how to create passionate employees. Awesome segment there. So what I want to do today in the traction segment is we're going to take that down to the ground a little bit more. And I'm going to share some practical tools that are going to really help you understand and implement how to create passionate employees in your organization. Now, at the foundational level of all of this conversation is your business. And what happens in business oftentimes is we get running around chasing 136 things at any given time. And the problem is those are just symptoms of what's really going on. It keeps us busy, it keeps us distracted, it keeps us from working on our business. But the reality is there's really just 6 key components to our business that if we would really get strong in those components, we would be able to kind of get better control of our business. Those 136 things would just kind of settle down and fall into place. And so what I want to do is I'm going to take you through this model and share these 6 components with you at a high level. And then today we're going to drive in and dive down into the people component and look at that a little bit more. So the first component is the vision component. And the vision component is all about getting clear as to where you're going with the organization and how you plan to get there. Now, you're not going to be able to accomplish your vision without great people. And we're going to talk about that more today. But we have to understand what great people means for your organization, because every company has a different standard of what they need for great people. And so we'll dig into that in a little bit. The next is the data component. And the data component is really getting crystal clear about what's actually happening. The numbers, the metrics that are going on, the data that's happening in the business. Cut through the ego and the assumptions and the guesswork and really just understand what's happening. And when we do that, when we have the vision component clear, we have the people component strong, we have the data component strong, you've created this really transparent organization. And so anything that's not right is just going to really stick out like a sore thumb. And that's good because we want to solve those. And that's what brings us to the fourth component, or the issues component. And the issues component is all about, like I said, smoking out those issues, but then digging down to the root cause of those issues and making those issues go away forever. Great leaders are just really good at solving their issues. The fifth component is the process component. And unfortunately, this little component of the business typically gets neglected oftentimes. The process component, though, is a secret ingredient for allowing you to be able to scale your business and get what you want from your business, and is instrumental in really creating passionate employees. There's a handful of core processes in your business. It's your recipe, your right and best way of doing what you do. And so you want to get strong in the process component as well. And then finally, we have the traction component. The book that you keep hearing about, Traction, you probably, if you've not read the book, you've probably heard about it at least, or you have now. And so if you haven't read it, you should get it and read it. It's an amazing book. But the traction component is all about executing and taking all of this down to the ground and making it happen. And there's no mistake that the vision is over traction, because vision without traction is hallucination. So this makes up the EOS model, and this is what I take my clients through, and this is what we're going to talk a little bit about today. But I'm going to share some practical tools that, whether you're using the full EOS system or not, you can use these tools in your business today. Now, the goal is to get 100% strong in each of these components, but you're an entrepreneur or a leader in an entrepreneurial company, that's perfection, and I don't know when the last time you've witnessed perfection, but probably not very often. Really what we're looking for is we're wanting to shoot for about 80%. If we can get 80% strong or better, you're going to go to the moon with your business. By contrast, we have a tool where we can analyze where people typically are at in their business, and the results are at about 20%. So we're kind of succeeding in spite of ourselves. So what I want to do now, though, is let's dive into the people component a little bit deeper. And in the people component, there's 2 tools or disciplines that we use to strengthen this component. First is right people, and then the second is right seats. Now, you've probably heard this phrase before, right people, right seats. Jim Collins made it famous in his book, Good to Great. And we probably even use this phrase ourselves, but it's how do we actually go about making that a reality? That's the challenge. And so let's take right people first. Right people is all about surrounding ourselves with people that share our values,
people that kind of fit the DNA of who we are and who we want to be around and who we want to be with. And the panelists talked a lot about the core values and culture and that type of thing. Unfortunately, so many organizations really don't have their core values defined. They may even have them on the wall on a poster, but they're not using their core values, or they're not really well-defined core values. And what I mean by that is the core values are often borrowed because we saw one that sounded really good. We thought, hey, let's use that one. Or we aspire to having that core value, but in reality, it's really not core to who we are. So what I do with my clients is I take them through a discovery exercise to really uncover the core values that are there, because your core values exist today. But what we want to do is extract those out and then start using them in a real way. What I mean by that is we want to use them to hire, we want to use them to fire, we want to use them to review and recognize and reward our employees. When you really start using your core values in that way, it is incredible how that transforms your business. In fact, I had a client tell me recently, after going through this exercise and using their core values for a time, that the core values was like having a business partner, a good business partner, that really helped them grow the business. They're that important. So let's look at how do we then, if we have these core values, how do we then take those and utilize them? What can we do to make sure that we're using those in the best way? So in the EOS system, there's a tool called the People Analyzer that we use. And the People Analyzer is a real simple tool that allows you to understand really how people fit within your core values. So again, you see it on the screen there, it's very simple. Put your core values across the top, the name of your employees on the first column, and then just rate your employees based on a simple 3-point scale. Plus for them, most of the time they share that core value, minus that seldom do they ever show that core value, or plus minus that sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. When you do that exercise, you're going to do kind of a gut check, and you're going to understand what's happening and what's going on with those employees. And oftentimes, these people issues languish for weeks, months, even years, because we just don't have good clarity. This tool is going to give you really good clarity as to what exactly are you dealing with. So like Chris Taylor talked about, you can go in and actually start to counsel or deal with the issue that's going on. Now, once you have you've used the People Analyzer, the next step is to talk about right seats. Now, right seats is all about getting that structure right. Looking at not just an org chart that is pretty dysfunctional because it talks about titles and things like that. The accountability chart is really getting a good picture of what the structure of the organization is, the functions that you need to be able to go where you want to go with the organization. So at a basic level, there's 3 major areas in any sort of organization. You have a marketing and sales function, you have an operations function, and you have a finance function. Now, in the world of accountability, we'll add a 4th function, that's called the integrator. And the integrator is the person that kind of harmoniously integrates these different functions, and they just keep the business running like it's supposed to be, keep the trains running on time, if you will. Now, once you have these major functions in place, you need to go in and say, okay, so what are the 5 things that we need each of these seats to do to be able to perform, to deliver what we need for the organization, to take us where we want to go. Notice that I don't have any people in here yet. We're only looking at the functions and the roles for those functions. Now, a couple things that come into play. When you do this exercise, you will find that you may be sitting in a lot of different seats when you do start putting people's names in the seats. That's what we call wearing a lot of hats. And you'll quickly understand why Bob, for example, is running busy all the time and never gets anything done, is because Bob's in 5 seats. And so it really helps you understand where you need to let things go, how you need to scale, how you can move people to their unique ability, as Dan Sullivan says. The other thing you want to make sure of with this is that while one person can be in multiple seats, you can't have 2 people accountable for 1 seat. And so if 2 people are accountable, really nobody's accountable. So you need to pick one person that's ultimately accountable. Now, in many entrepreneurial type organizations, we have a 5th seat, and that's the visionary. And the visionary and integrator couldn't be more different. The visionary is big on culture, big ideas, lots of ideas, maybe too many ideas, some people might say. They're all about helping the organization get to where they want to go. And it's awesome to have a great visionary in place, especially when you have the integrator. But it's important that we make sure that we clarify the roles of the visionary and of the integrator so that they're clear and we're not crossing over and stepping on each other's toes. When that relationship is clear, it's amazing what happens. There's actually a book called Rocket Fuel that talks about this relationship. And the reason it's titled Rocket Fuel is because when you get that visionary integrated relationship in a business, it is like adding rocket fuel to your business. It's amazing what can happen. So once you've put out or developed your accountability chart with whatever functions you have in your organization, you can start putting the people into those seats, and you can utilize the people analyzer to understand if you've got the right people that fit those seats. I didn't have time to go over all that today, but there's a lot more to that people analyzer. I'd be happy to share that with you if you want to reach out to me later. But really getting 100% strong in the people component is all about getting the right people in the right seats, doing the right thing. And it's important to reiterate that this is one component of all 6. You've got to get all 6 components strong because they all work in harmony. The people component is great, but it isn't the only component that is going to help create passionate employees. Passionate employees want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to believe in the vision of the organization. They want to be valued. They want to be heard. And so as you start looking at those things and you start listening to the panelists and what they're talking about, you can start seeing where those fit in these different 6 components. So that's why it's so important to get 80% strong or better in each of the 6 components. Now, you may have questions on this. It's a short segment. Unfortunately, we can't dig into a lot of details. There's a couple of offers as Business Builder Insights viewers. You have access to a workshop that will work with your leadership team to help dig in deeper on all 6 components, share the tools that we use in each of these components, and really help you focus in on your business. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out to me or to Nick, and we can get you set up with that. Also, in the packet that's going to be coming out, there's some additional information with the tools, the people analyzer, for example, and the accountability chart. And again, you can also look at pick up a copy of Traction. It also walks you through the system, has additional tools in there as well. But of course, we're happy to help with questions. My contact information is on the screen. Feel free to reach out at any time. Stay focused.
If you're looking to grow your bottom line, join us to gain resources on growth strategies, social media, fraud protection, workplace culture, hiring, and more. Register to attend Business Builder Day, a free event for business professionals, May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center.
All right, thanks again for joining us for another segment of Business Builder Insights. We'd like to invite you for our next segment on March 31st. Right here, streaming live, we're going to be talking with Blake Hansen, and the topic is scaling your company, the 10X mindset. So if you don't know Blake, you'll definitely want to tune in on March 31st at 10 a.m. Mountain Time for this segment. It's going to be a great one. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.